Chapter 16. After being detained overnight, Alex woke up and stretched her muscles. Evidently, her body needed to adjust to the uncomfortable bed and conventional way of sleeping. Without an oxygen-infused hyperbaric sleep chamber, she definitely did not feel 100% refreshed. Alex paced back and forth like a caged animal, trying to exercise her mind. That was the one way she could feel free. Her mind recalled books and music for entertainment, mathematics for problem-solving, and beautiful imagery for creativity. She began doing calisthenics to maintain her strength. For over 2 hours she performed jumping jacks, squats, sit-ups, and push-ups, until a voice came over the speaker and interrupted her workout. "We need everyone to leave their cells immediately and form an orderly line." Just then, Alex heard a mechanical locking mechanism unlatch and her door slid open. Sweaty and exhausted, Alex began to take deep breaths and slow exhales to reduce her heart rate. She had worked up a ferocious appetite and had hoped it was time for lunch. She reluctantly stepped outside her cell and took her place in line among the other detainees. She looked around and caught the glimpses of some inmates staring at her, but made sure not to make eye contact with any of them. It was her first time seeing the interior of a modern prison in daylight. It looked more like a university campus from the beginning of the 21st century, back when they had university campuses. The natural skylights and stainless steel details actually seemed pleasant. She was not too sure what to expect from prison life, but embraced it as an opportunity to gain valuable life experience. "This way, please," a prison guardian instructed. The inmates marched past a row of cells, then down a steel staircase. Once on the ground floor, they continued to be herded down a long corridor and into a large open area that contained rows of tables and a cafeteria-style kitchen at the far end. The ceiling was about 40 feet from the floor and was comprised of special glass that allowed natural sunlight to pour in during the day, then could simulate natural light at night or in times of poor weather conditions. They had them installed all over the common areas of the prison because it had been proven to be effective for rehabilitation and morale. Alex looked around to get acquainted with her new surroundings. Based on the layout, she figured if she were to drill a hole in the back of her cell, she would overlook the entire cafeteria. Several guardians stationed themselves around the cafeteria to enforce order. Once everyone was in the cafeteria, they maintained their single-file line and received their food. Alex grabbed a tray, filled it up with unappealing grub, and found her seat, alone. She kept her head down mostly because there were a lot of very intimidating-looking women. She felt like a plump fish that had been dropped in the middle of a shark tank. Alex knew a lot about human psychology, and realized if any other inmates sensed even a hint of weakness in her, they would surely exploit it, instinctively. However, displaying too much brazen confidence early on would similarly incite primal instincts in the other women, and cause them to get territorial. She figured her best strategy was to go unnoticed.
"Don't tell me. You're here to break me out?"
Alex looked up and saw a familiar face looking back at her.
"Mara, hi!"
she said excitingly. It was perhaps a bit too enthusiastic, because it caught the attention of some of the other women. Alex immediately corrected her excitement and slumped low in her seat. This seemed to satisfy the women as they turned back around and minded their own business.
"It's so good to see you,"
Mara said.
"But what are you doing here?"
"It's a long story."
Alex replied.
"Why don't you start at the beginning?"
"The beginning? How far back would you like me to go?"
"As far back as you can remember."
Alex proceeded to tell her mother about her life. She started with her first memories inside the facility, how it was difficult not having her parents around. She told the story about how she and Milo met at a young age and became friends. She glossed over most of her scholastic achievements and said one difficulty she had was making friends, since many of the other kids her age were very immature. Other than school, Alex did not have much else to talk about. She eventually arrived at the part of her story where she moved into the pyramid, met Eris, and hacked into the government database.
"Why were you hacking into a government database?"
Mara asked. Alex paused for a moment, not too sure how her mother would react to what she was about to say. Then she remembered the sign language message and realized her mother anticipated she might eventually watch it someday.
"I wanted to find out more information about you."
"What did you find?"
"Not much, but I did manage to locate a video file using my birth name and birth date."
Mara made the connection immediately.
"I'm so sorry, Alex. That must have been very hard for you to watch."
It was. But I also learned a lot. Do you remember that night at all?
Are you kidding? I think about it every day of my life.
So you remember the sign language message you left me?
Of course.
Mara said, placing her hand gently on Alex's shoulder. It was the first contact they had had in over 18 years.
It meant a lot. Thank you.
I didn't know what else to do, and I needed a way to send you a message to let you know that I loved you. I had heard stories about women being separated from their children and then having their memories wiped.
Is that what happened to you?
No, fortunately not.
So there is one question I'm dying to ask you.
Alex paused, fighting back her emotions.
What is it, honey?
Why did you not try to contact me?
Alex said as her chin quivered. Her emotions were too much to handle and her tears came flooding out. Again, this attracted a lot of attention from the other inmates, but this time Alex did not care.
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry for the pain you must have gone through,
Mara said as she held Alex tightly. Alex began to cry even harder. Her mother rubbed and patted her back and told her everything would be okay.
My sweet child, I'm so sorry.
Alex remained sniffling in her mother's arms. This piqued a few guardians' curiosity, but not enough for them to intervene.
When you were ripped away from me, I was hauled off to prison. I received notification shortly after that you had died due to an infection. I didn't exactly have you in the most sterile conditions, so I believed it. After that, I dedicated my life to revolting against the system. For years, I led a crusade to fight against the tyranny. Ironically, through some mysterious force of the universe, that was what reunited us again. Maybe it's true what they say. Everything happens for a reason.
Alex felt a lot better after receiving this new piece of information. She peeled herself from her mother's warm embrace and looked at her with sympathetic eyes.
Even though I had no idea where you were, somehow I still felt connected to you. It was as if you were talking to me in my thoughts.
I was.
What do you mean?
Regardless of where in the universe you were, I still wanted to communicate to you and let you know that I love you.
How did you know you could do that?
I didn't know, but I just believed I could. I started communicating with you for many years, sending you prayers, until one day you answered back. It was the weirdest feeling, and I didn't know how to deal with it at first. I thought for sure I had gone crazy. But I could feel you telling me you were okay.
I did. I was saying that.
That's a relief. So I'm not crazy?
Well, I didn't say that.
Alex joked as they both laughed. The reunion was cut short as lunchtime came to an end. The prisoners were instructed to form single-file lines according to their block categorization.
I'm in the A block, so I have to go now.
Alex looked down at her shirt, taking notice of a large letter C that was stitched in her clothing.
To think, this whole time I thought I was the team captain.
You're smart, pretty, and funny. I'm so proud of how accomplished you are.
Accomplished? I'm in prison.